Howdy y'all, this here is the Christian Trucker, and this is my story, episode 13. We're going to talk about some of the animals in our life. Some of them are quite entertaining. Alright, whenever we were younger, we lived in that big old brick house. We raised Cocker Spaniels for a while. White, pretty little Cocker Spaniels. The first one we got was a male named Carrington. He was pretty beefy for a little Cocker Spaniel. He thought he was a duck. Every time he saw a duck in the pond, he would have to go out there and swim. And that dog swim, wow. He loved the water. And we ended up getting a few more. We had Bright Eyes, which was my baby. We raised her from a bottle. She was a special dog. And we had Snow White. She was beautiful. A lot prettier than Bright Eyes. And at one time, we had like 40 dogs, puppies included. We would raise them and we'd sell them. Sadly, my dad sold Bright Eyes with her last litter whenever they were starting to get out of the dogs. I don't think he really realized how tight me and her were. I mean, me and her was so tight I could throw a rock in the middle of a bunch of rocks and she'd bring it back. I could throw a rock in the creek and she'd bring me back the same rock back. I don't know how she did it, but she could go in that creek water and get me a dead gum rock. She was great. But one day she got mad at Snow White because Snow White was close to me, and she jumped on old Snow White knowing she was going to get her butt kicked. There was blood and fur everywhere before I got her broke up. She took a butt whooping. She had the prettiest puppies out of all of the dogs. She wasn't the prettiest dog, but she had the prettiest puppies. Ain't that how it works? Then we, see, at the building supply, there's this old guy used to come in there. He's quite a character. His name's W.T. Old W.T. had a twin brother. And him and the twin brother was out there working on cars one night. And they would get mad and fight all the time. Old W.T. reared back and hit him with a crescent wrench and knocked him smooth out. They say his brother wasn't right since then, but neither one of them was right if you ask me. They were a character. I mean, he drove an old black and red Ford Fairlane. He come up in the store one day and started whipping out a chainsaw to cut up some boards to the length he wanted. Lord have mercy. Me and my brother ran for cover. And he come in there one day and gave one of the guys a $20 bill and claimed it was $100. Called him a bald-headed bastard and all that kind of stuff, threatened to shoot him. I tell you, when old W.T. come around, you kind of went out the back door, but he brought me a pit bull puppy one day. And this pit bull puppy was beautiful. He was brindle. He hadn't had his tail lopped or anything, man. We left his tail on him and we fed him puppy chow and cornbread and milk. He had plenty of places to run. And well, when that puppy was little, then we had geese in our pond, and them geese would come and they would chase that puppy up into the garage and bite on him and pick at him. Well, that dog eventually grew up, and we come home one day to some dead geese, and them geese never got out of that pond around that dog no more. He got payback. He whooped up on them geese something fierce. It was hilarious. Well, one day I had a party and old W.T. was out there with us, and we had all the guys were out there standing around, and one of the guys named Eddie kicked at my old W.T. and W.T. growled and Eddie took off running, and W.T. tackled him and got on his back, because you know he wasn't gonna kill him, but he just stood on his back growling. Well, that was a straw that broke my dad's back. He made me give my dog back to W.T. We told him his name, and old W.T. just kind of laughed. I said, yeah, we named him W.T. after you gave him to me. Well, he took my dog home and threw him in the pen with all his pit bulls, and he said it was a battle. But my dog beat every dog in his pen, and he said, don't ever bring him another dog. He said my dog just got up in there and beat the snot out of everybody. Well, you know, we fed him right, and that's what you got to do. You got to feed the animals right. You got to take care of them. We fed him, and we ran, and we played, and me and that dog was tight, but, you know, when Daddy says, Daddy says. The next thing we're going to talk about is, like I said, we had geese in our pond. Well, there was a stray goose that come up. I don't know if somebody had him and let him go or what, but he was stray. He came up there, and the other geese didn't play with him. They didn't want to have nothing to do with that poor goose. And I had that 1968 Mustang, and I had just had a brand new bumper put on there. The paint on top of the car was kind of faded, but on the bottom was still real shiny. Well, that goose started seeing his reflection in that car. And, well, his name got to be Bumper, because when that car would come home, he would go nuts and come running after that car like it was his best friend. He'd walk around that car and talk to that car for hours. I had to be real careful not to run over him when I came in and out from the house, because he was always right up under that car. But the other geese never would have nothing to do with him. I don't know what the big deal was, but he didn't want nothing to do with that goose. All he wanted to have something to do with was that bumper. Now, my mom and dad had got my brother a ferret. I don't know if y'all have ever heard or had a ferret, but they stink. They're rotten and nasty, stinking little animals. You can get their smelly glands took out, and that's what they supposedly had done to this one, but he still smelled like the hind end of a jackass. Oh, it was awful. But my brother had him in the house and everything, and they're supposed to use a litter box. Well, when we cleaned up that house, man, there was ferret turds all up under the desk and bed, and that thing was nasty. He supposedly scratched down the screen one day when my brother left the window up. But I think my dad got rid of that ferret. Can't prove it. Don't hold me to it. But I really do. I think my dad got rid of that there ferret. And they had bought me a cockatiel. He was yellow with a red spot on his cheek. Me and him had grown pretty tight. I had him for about 3 years. He would hear my Mustang come in, and he would go to squawking and hollering, and he was ready to see me. He could whistle the Andy Griffith tune. It was great. He liked to whistle the Andy Griffith song, and he would holler, but you couldn't grab him with your hand. If you didn't hold out your finger for him to get on there, he was going to bite the snot out of you. And I think that happened whenever he was a baby. My dad had grabbed him a little too hard, and he bit the snot out of my dad. Anyway, him and my dad had kind of a rocky relationship. Well, I was going to school one day, and when I come home that evening, which, I probably didn't come straight home. I probably went out and did whatever I did. And it was probably after Dad got home from work. But they told me that my dad sat on the bird. They found the bird dead in the recliner. Now, this bird loved the wicker. He would get on wicker seats and wicker chairs, and he would just gnaw on the wicker. But he wasn't bad about getting in the recliner, so I'm not sure if my old man let that bird loose. They claim that he was dead. I don't know, but I lost my bird. That's the way it goes. We had some cats. Some of them were pretty cool. We had one black cat, and he got up in the fan motor of our old Dodge pickup truck. And the fan whopped him on the head real bad. Cat fell out from under the truck, and it was so bad you could see the cat's skull. We just knew he was gonna die. We just knew he was a goner. Well, we was wrong. That cat limped around there for days, but he healed up, and he hung around there for a long time. The other cat we had, this was after my dad got down. We had to move over to the trailer. We was out there, and my dad's eyes wasn't that good. He thought there was a coon out there fitting to get his chicken. But it wasn't a coon, it was a gray cat. I don't know if you ever watched Pet Sematary. There was a cat on there they called Church. Well, this cat looked just like it. And he figured out it was a cat just in the nick of time, and he didn't shoot it. And that old cat never meowed. He never begged for attention. But you could feed him, and he would stay around, and he was one of the best cats we had. You could pet him, but he wasn't real crazy about it. One day my dad come out there, and there was another cat whooping his butt. I mean, had him in the corner. My dad grabbed the shotgun, and which is scary. Like I say, he can't see good. And he shot that big old cat that was whooping up on his cat. And old Church was happy. He went over there and smelled that old cat. And he took his feet and kind of dusted him off like a dog does when he takes a dump. And walked off with a look, what I swear was a grin on his face. Now over there at that house, when we had that little trailer in the woods, we had chickens, we had geese, we had turkeys, we had guineas, we had peacocks, and I had went to truck driving school in Jackson, Mississippi, which that school is closed. And while I was going to my first company, which was Burlington Motor Carriers, my mom was getting my checks to put them in my bank. Well, I bought her a brand new fat little pot-belly pig. Now, she had that pot-belly pig, we named him Gus, for quite a while. And him and this dog, see, we kept having dogs. We lived close to the highway, and our dogs kept either getting run over or shot or was being poisoned or something. Well, I finally got tired of it because they were all pretty dogs. We had some nice dogs. You know, I went to the pound over in the next town over and told them, I said, look, I want the ugliest dog you got. And they gave me one. His name was Squire. That's what I named him. His hind end was jacked up like a muscle car. It was way up higher than his front end, but he was the smartest dog we ever had. Now, that dog and that pig were best buddies. And that dog at nighttime, when my mom was working night times at Walmart, and my dad was doing some boards and stuff at nighttime in the shop while she was working. So that dog would make his loops. He would go around the back, check on Dad. He'd come back on the big front porch, and he would count each one of them chickens that were roosting on our front porch. That was the nicest thing about that trailer, is because part of our deal when we got out of the stores, we got enough wood to build our porch, and it was just about the same length as the whole trailer with a roof over it. And he would go and he'd count each chicken. Well, one night, poor old Squire, he got run over out there on the road too, but he was chasing a booger out of the yard. And I don't know what the booger was, but he was chasing that booger out the yard, and he got out in front of a truck, and that was it for him. Poor dog. He was a good one too. That old pig, he lived a long time, but when my folks, they moved off, and I bought the place from them, and when they moved off, I inherited all these dang animals. Like I said, I had banty chickens, I had Rhode Island Reds and guineas. I finally started getting rid of them all because I couldn't afford to keep them fed with the job that I was doing at the time. So when it come time to get rid of Gussie, a feller came on the next county over to get him, and he's an older feller, and this older feller reached down there and tried to grab hold to Gus and manhandle him up in that trailer, and that pig drugged that man all over that place. It took him hours to get that pig loaded up, which that pig was way bigger than he was supposed to be. He's supposed to be a miniature. He ended up being about 600 pounds. He was so fat he couldn't see, because we had an automatic feeder out in the front yard in the pen with all the animals. And the geese and the pigs and the chickens would all eat out of that automatic feeder, throwing whole corn out. Woo, let me tell you, that little rascal got big fast. So like I say, we had dogs get in there. We had rabbits. My dad would raise rabbits, but he finally quit doing that because he got tired of knocking them in the head for the meat. That takes a lot out of you, and you're knocking these cute little animals you raise in the head. But yeah, those are some pretty good times. There's a lot about that place I'll tell y'all in the future. Well, God bless. I hope y'all enjoyed this edition of my story. Later. Catch you on the next ride.